Hey guys, it's WaifuGate here again. So today we're going to be doing episode 7 of the weekly meta-analysis. So what I do here is I go to MTG Goldfish, I go to Dex Metagame, and then I click on the most recent league. And usually I try to cover standard for the most part for this, but I will do like historic here and there if we have a tournament or something else. Like sometimes I cover other stuff other than the metagame stuff here. And what we do is we just like look at the list, kind of chill out and figure out like, how competitive it is, why it might have gone 5-0, good matchups, bad matchups, what their sideboards sort of catered to, if you will. And then I do the same thing for viewers, and that's on a different playlist. And that can be for historic, brawl, etc. And I try to give my best insights on that as well. So here we go. We'll start out. So it looks like we got a lot of one drops here. This is Mardu Knights by Robo the Dude 420. So how many lands? 22. So pretty low to the ground on lands. 3 triomes too. So this is a little weird because like you want aggro to be like very fast. So tap lands don't make a lot of sense to me in this list, but they don't run any, they run zero temples from what I can see here. They have one of each of the castles, which is pretty cool. I love that. Just aesthetically, that pleases me much. And then we've got one tournament ground. For the Embercleave and for the Circle of Loyalty, I believe it works for that. Knight or an equipment spell, so not quite on the loyalty, but that doesn't matter. Like you probably have two mana at that point, 2 white. 1 Grim Tutor, that's pretty spicy. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library, lose 3 life. Chance for Glory, so a little bit of burst damage there. 1 of Village Rites and 2 of Fight as 1. Okay, so a couple combat tricks to respect. Especially if you happen to get 1 of these Fight as 1s, your opponent doesn't know how many you run, they could assume 3 or 4. So that's very powerful to show that the first game. This is from M21, so lots of new cards for this list, which is pretty cool because you see like the Grim Tutor, you see the Village Rites. It's very, very new card friendly, which is kind of cool, kind of gets people excited a bit. At least it is for me. General Kudrow. So yeah, he's like sack 2 humans, deal with big dude, and then whenever this guy or another human enters the battlefield, you get to exile cards. Other humans you control get 1/1. Pretty interesting. I thought there was another one that makes things invulnerable or indestructible, but I guess it's not this guy, it's a different one. So this deck revolves highly around like this type of card too. This is like almost like a Hero of Precinct type effect. Whenever you cast a night spell, create a 1/1 white human token. So you're able to produce humans, and then you have a lot of non-humans here and there with Fight as 1, I think. Like Zombie Knight, like that counts. What else do we have? Human Soldier, Human Knight. The Fight as 1 doesn't look as good. I guess the Vampire Knight can be okay too. So between 4 copies of this, 1 copy of this, it's 5 cards. Maybe it's okay. Like, just feels like you're going to be using this as a one-of cantrip for like a human, like 1 human a lot of the time. Which doesn't really make it great. Like Unbreakable Formation's almost better, but then again, leaving 1 mana up is a lot easier. This is pretty interesting. 4 of with Rimrock Knight. Okay, that's fair. Honk, yeah. Like in a red-white deck. That makes sense. And we got this, which is pretty interesting with Worthy Knight, like just being able to go wide. Oh yeah, this is a human, never mind. And then you've got your banners as well, like 4 banners. So it's mostly focused around black and white. Without really much red, aside from the banner card there actually, and 1 Chance of Glory, and the Embercleave, of course, but mostly it's black-white for the most part. Before triomes? Maybe it's a good point. Especially where you're only using the red for this, maybe I could see it, but I don't know. I'd have to take a deep delve into the mana base to figure out exactly what's needed here and there. It is nice because like this gives you way more tempo for sure. I think it would make more sense unless we're really digging on the sideboard for having colors. Like Scorching Dragonfire might be a little harder without as many red sources and stuff. Like I could see that, but seems like there'd be enough for at least one red, and Tournament Ground still covers your Ember Cleaves, so that's about it. Other than that, it's like Dire Tactics becomes a little bit harder, stuff like that. So you'd have to do a little bit of crunching, I think. Get Frank Karsten on the job. But it looks like a really fast list. I can see this punishing like Bant Ramp to some extent if they don't have the Shatter. And if they do, you might have a fight as one for like a sneaky Knight of the Ebon Legion kind of going through, you know? Like that would help. And then it seems like the sideboard setup, like this is probably good against like Winota. It's okay against Uro. But most of the time, like you can just Teferi -3 this and then like cast your Uro anyway. I'm not sure what other decks in Standard are cheating things out. What's the giveaway? We're doing giveaways on community codes. Like just, it's like ICRs and stuff. I'll probably do another one right after this video. I've been trying to give them like 2 or 3 away at least each day, if not more. I just forget. So, so you got Grafdigger's Cage. That's probably mostly like. There's also like sometimes a Jeskai cheeky person running like Luca with Dream Trawlers and stuff. ICR individual card reward. So like you can it gives you like a rare card, potentially an uncommon, a common. I can give you gems, etc. So Tibalt's there for Bant, I believe, too. Anything that gains life, you white control. Pretty nice. Scorching Dragonfire is just for the aggro matchups. Grasp for Teferi, Grasp for Yorion, etc. Questing Beast. Probably mostly Questing Beast. Dire Tactics for aggro, just in general. Not bad. And bigger creatures too, like Gruul, where their creatures kind of get taller than ours. How much do I get? I have like 50 codes, man, to give away right now. It's insane. Light of Hope. Destroy target enchantment, gain 4 life. So Tamir Reclamation could be good in the mirror against like red. Like not really the mirror. 62 cards in the main, I did not actually. Is it really? That's crazy. That's funny. Just chop 2 lands off, dude. I didn't notice that though. Funny. Calculator. Where does it say? Does it say anywhere or no? It's like 28 plus 9 plus 3 plus 22. Yeah, it's 62. That's funny. Great. I mean, I would probably just cut the Grim Tutor and the Chance for Glory, and it looks like an okay deck. But that's just me. So yeah, it looks like a pretty interesting list. Like, if you want something a little different with your aggro, if you're not just happy with Rakdos, like with the Katav and stuff, kind of want more Knights, I can see it flavor-wise. Seems pretty okay. Probably shapes up against a lot of the meta too. Like, gets in under them and has good tech against them. With these colors, you have a lot of reach. So I like it. Esper Control. I love it when lists do this, when they're like, I am an Esper Control list, and they're just like Hero Precinct deck. Should be like Esper Hero, to be more aptly named. Like, Esper Control doesn't make any sense. Zeb, I don't know what you're thinking, man. This is trash. This is a trash name. My first critique of the deck. Garbo name. Anyway, getting away from the semantics and being pedantic and whatnot, and what have you. So 4 heroes, 3 Atris, 3 guard mages. Interestingly enough, no general Kurdro, which is kind of interesting because like having the main deck Graveyard Hate is very good against Rakdos, I would say. You know what I mean? Like being able to exile the cat or threaten to each turn. Being able to threaten to exile Uro, especially while people are setting up for that, it's just so powerful. And we've got two Narsets, Teferis, Ashiok. So these are probably like trying to target Hydroid Krasis, Uros, stuff like that. Teferis are just good. They turn off counter spells and instant speed interactions, so that's nice. We got one Ashiok, which can just take over the game, honestly. And more often than you'd suspect, Ashiok's -3 really comes into play when opponents are just like throwing their cards on the table and not really keeping back a land or two in their hand. And especially paired with like Thought Erasure, you're able to be like boop, check your hand, discard that, and then you can Ashiok. You can Ashiok bounce, which is nice. Yeah, it's stuff for Arena Honk, yes. It's individual card rewards for Arena. One of Discovery to kind of tie over early game draws. Very nice. Oath and Elspeth's. Pretty standard. I think 4 here is a bit heavy, especially when you're only running like 26 lands is pretty respectable, actually, for this amount. I would just like to see one less Elspeth and like maybe... I don't know, maybe another Veto, maybe another Discovery for early game is what I would say. Probably what I would say. I know that Sidetrack was running this, and he needed the Omens, but I think we were also on a Yorian list, which was pretty interesting. So that might be different since we don't really gain value off of Yorian here since we don't have it. The Omens seem a little less enticing, if you will, because Hero doesn't proc off of it either. So stuff like Discovery, where Dispersal also is very good. You can bounce something, make them discard in conjunction or in combination with Ashiok there, which is pretty interesting. We've also got 2 Castles, which is pretty okay. 2 Fabled. I love Fabled, at least as a 1 or a 2 of, because you can crack it and shuffle your library. So if you like scry something to the bottom, it's very nice. And what's up, Markimus? How are you doing, man? We're just recording a YouTube video here on the weekly analysis for decks. So pretty standard mana, it looks like 4 temples here, valuing the blue-white for Teferi and for Narsets, like the double blue there. Only need a very splash for black here for like dire tactics and stuff. You're not going to use this super early game. Most of the time you want to save that for like a questing beast or something big and scary. So sideboard looks like it's set up for like Tamir Reclamation with Gust. Bant, pretty much like being able to shove Nissa back to the top of the library is nice. Especially if you can instant speed like Thought Erasure too. As a follow-up, it's very nice. They've got the generals in the sideboard. Remember how I'm surprised they don't have this here. So this is more like for Uro and stuff, being able to interact with that. Same thing with this, Remorse. Kind of covers creatures as well as non-creatures. Hits some different stuff. Got a 1 of Kaya for those pesky Sakdos lists and such, which is nice. And Uro. Just hits a lot, man. Kaya is super great. And then we've got 3 Wraths, so we can kind of board into a control setup, which would make this make a lot more sense, you know, this naming convention. And then we've got 4 Disputes also for control, so basically to turn off like Teferis and other such things. Like if people are tapping out for like Tameo and whatnot, you can catch them out, which is nice. So overall, it makes sense for the sideboard. I think I would tweak this list very slightly, like probably include a general or 2 like main deck. Just because it's such a good card, like it's an answer to like you can sack 2 humans, destroy target creature. Like I'd almost rather run like 1 less dire tactics and 1 of him main, you know, just to have the out to shut off that Uro, you know, potentially. Feels like it'd be worth it. But feel like good matchups and bad matchups. We didn't really do that for Mardu. We kind of did. We kind of grazed it. But I would say Tamir Reclamation, like unless you get really lucky with your Thought Erasure, Tamir Reclamation kind of grinds you out because you don't have an answer to Wilderness. Like you have Elspeths, but they can generally protect it for a turn or 2, which is all they need. You are constantly like presenting stuff though, like Hero, okay, you know, you have to flame sweep me now. And Reclamation might only have 2 flame sweeps main deck, like Chris's listed for a while. I'm kind of dated on the whole Reclamation thing. I can also go here to MTG Goldfish to pull up what's popular too, so we can make a better comparison here. So against Mono Red, probably does really well since it has a lot of life gain and a lot of good answers to creatures here. This Esper list does, like Dire Tactics, Oath, just like, oh, that life gain's gonna really, mess with mono red. Bant probably can get in under it and be able to thought erase your prime targets like a Eugene or a Nissa or something. Yeah, Teferi is also good. It's less good than it used to be because of Shark Typhoon, but it also forces them to use the Shark Typhoon in order to swing at Teferi. And you might very well have like a Dire Tactics for that token. And, you can probably answer it as well as they can answer your Teferi once it's actually resolved. So it's kind of nice. Against mono green might be a little tough because they have a lot of thick dudes, and they have Stone Coil Steve Austin here, the Stone Coil Serpent, and you don't really have an answer to that. Like, let's be honest, you kind of just fold to that card, yeah. Yep. You even have an answer for it sideboard. I guess Wrath. You gotta Wrath it. Which, to be fair, against mono green, you're bringing in Wrath, so. Rakdos probably have a decent answer. Like, you just have so many things that deal with their creatures. Like Rotting Regisaur, just Dire Tactics on upkeep after they discard value. Roll, same deal. You just got to beat Embercleave out, which can be a little troublesome, but you have a lot of instant speed answers to creatures here too. Sacto is probably pretty decent after sideboarding with your general. Bant Flash, probably about even. Like, it's like, it feels like it doesn't have a lot of bad matchups, like this deck doesn't. Like, I think Bant Ramp would be the hardest if it just kind of like goes up and above. It could be very difficult because like one moment like you're kind of controlling them, being like, yeah, I thought erasure this, I got this. And then if you don't have Narset out, they just slam Crassus for like 6, and you're like, oh, all of my control that I tried to do there. Say like anything I can kind of outgrind you, it's kind of tough. Mono green. So this guy is so good. Stone Coil is such a strong card, man. So Pelt Collectors and Growth Chambers. I've seen most mono green lists run like 4 oozes, but this one's only running 2. Running some preservers over it. This card's actually crazy. Like Garruk's, you may reveal a creature card or Garruk Planeswalker from among them and put them into your hand. So like basically what this does is if it hits your opponent, you get to look at the top 4 and pick a creature from it. And it's just very, very strong. It's a hard card to deal with. Hexproof from black also means like decks that are running like, Eliminate, some like, Rakdos lists, usually not control. Like I've been running a control list with the Eliminate, but I mean, it's not meta because my lists are usually garbage. I've been trying to work on that, but I know the reality. I know the score in regards to that. It's a process. So we get Yorvo. 4 Gem Razors is pretty heavy, but I understand it. The card just by itself, like being able to mutate onto a Stone Coil, is just so strong. And then it has protection from multicolor as well. It's just really, really ignorant. Super hard to deal with. Or like onto a Pelt Collector if you absolutely need to. Or even a Growth Chamber, man. Like, it's fine. Questing Beast is also kind of okay. That was a pretty good one. It's fantastic. It has so much text, tough to beat. So it just runs a lot of dudes. Tries to get in with a lot of damage without haste first, and then finish it off with always threatening the questing beast for that 4 damage that you can't block with like, a token or something. Has to be a big token, has to be at least 3 attack, right? And can be pretty difficult to deal with. Vivian for some interaction, Great Henge for some value. Great Henge and Growth Chamber always go well together too, because you can just pump out more and more and more draw. 2 Mobilized District, don't usually see this too much. Maybe like as a 1 of or something, but I'm a little scared of not being able to cast my Yorvo. But as a 2 of, I can kind of see it being an upside, being able to dodge like maybe a Wrath effect. So that's kind of nice. So you've got 2 Heroic Interventions for control, which is nice. Like you can stop the Shatter the Sky, which is awesome. This for aggro. This is aggro interaction with creatures. 2 oozes for like more graveyard hate against like Rakdos and such. Against Uro decks. This is pretty good against Bant. Like just being able to dodge the board wipes and dodge the Shark Typhoons and stuff. Not terrible. And it's very good against you white control, not that that's like a super big deal. Like, it's just good against a lot of lists, especially like Flash. This is really decent against Flash because then you can start blocking some of their dudes, and it can block a Night Pack Ambusher. Like, it's not terrible. I feel like if you're doing this for Flash, though, it's like you're doing it more for the 5/4 haster than you are for anything else that can't be countered, because you're not going to beat a board full of dudes. You know, you're gonna have to ram that through and try to fight the Night Pack Ambusher, which is a little weird. Thankfully, it's an instant speed, so you can just be like, bam! As soon as the Night Pack gets flashed in, you can maybe hit it with a ram through, which is nice. And it requires them to have a counter for ram through, or like a bounce for your creature when it goes to fight. And it's got some more planeswalkers for longevity in those long games against like Bant Ramp or control in general, which is kind of interesting. Or like just to fight the board a little bit more, like maybe against Night Pack, etc. And this is also good board interactions, so that's nice. See that this list does pretty well against the meta just because it checks to see if your opponent has it or not. Reservations with Growth Chamber. Sweepers on limited minions. Reservations. Like just holding back mana and like threatening to get the Growth Chamber instead of developing your board. Yeah, I can see that. Yep. Or with Preserver, you mean? I don't know what you mean. But yeah, I think I get it. So against the meta, how do we, I mean, mirror matchup, it's a 50-50, right? Mono red, I think we have a bit of an advantage if we can get our creatures down and kind of stabilize. I feel like some of our creatures main deck, like Growth Chambers, it's rough, right? Because if they have the Bone Crusher Giant, it just gets run over before you get value. And a lot of the times mono red will be like Fevorite Champion turn 1, and then like hold mana for Bone Crusher turn 2. So that's very difficult to deal with this mono green list for the most part. Unless we've just got like a thick boy to put down. Like all of our stuff is Bone Crusherable. Most 1 and 2 drops are, though, to be fair. So it's not really saying much. It just hurts when we lose value off of something that has potential like Growth Chamber. Against Sakdos, I feel like we can get overran by like Rotting Regisaur plus Embercleave. That's kind of hard to deal with. If you can take the first hit, which is almost impossible, right? You're talking about 14, no, you're talking about 16 damage, right? Because it's 7 plus 1 is 8, 8 and 8. So like if you chump a bit of that, it's okay, but even then it's like a lot. Then you have to have a creature left over to Gem Razor onto, and then you still have to deal with the 7/6. So I'd say like creatures that, like people that run like big creatures like this, like bigger creatures than yours, kind of hard to deal with, I would say, especially when this guy trades with everything too. It's probably like one of the worst matchups for us, I think. We just don't hit the ground fast enough, I don't think, compared to their creatures. Gruul probably pretty even. They have Embercleave. We don't. Kind of rough. They don't hit us with Rotting Regisaur, though, so we might be able to take a hit off of, like, you know, a Spellbreaker. And then Gem Razor that through. This is also, like, Edgewall territory, too. Like, a lot of people have been going back to... Like, Gruul mid-range has become, like, you know, basically Gruul Adventures. Same deck. Sacrifice, think we can get up over it sometimes. Have to really deal with those engines early, like the Priest. And we don't really have a lot main deck to deal with the Priest aside from like -3ing Vivian for it, which is like way too slow. We have to try to go up and above and hope that they can't like deal with our Questing Beast, basically. Flash, say it's like give and take, like we might be able to beat it. They have sweepers in their sideboard usually, at least the list that I was running did. And Sacrifice can grind us out if we don't get there fast enough, but typically speaking, we might be able to put the pedal down, so to speak. Same thing with Bant Ramp, like just needing to get that value in before they kind of run us over. So pretty interesting list. I like the tech for ram through and just going straight up, like I'm gonna see if I can win with my creatures and then put in an interaction after. I like that. Like it takes a lot of guts to do that. And I like this new tech for board wipes for Shadow the Sky. So this is like the doggo list, right? Most of the time you see Winota here. I think this is like a budget, like someone had crafted like Boros Angels a while back. And they're like, yo, since I don't have it, I'm going to just use these instead of the Winotas for this list. And it's okay. The difference between this and Winota, though, is that Winota instantly gets you value if she isn't answered. Like, you can swing him with the creatures you already have down, like Ginger Brute, any of the doggos that you have. This is coined as like Paw Blade right now, where like you kind of use the Houndmaster to go and grab a Watchdog and or Cur. So you get the Cur and the Watchdog, and you just do that a few times. And it's pretty interesting. It's very cool. It also has a card called Blade in it, which is kind of cool. And that's pretty annoying to deal with for sure. Which is something that's indestructible, because then like one Shatter the Sky doesn't do it after they've already punched you in the face for a little bit, especially if they have the Embercleave down, and then they just get to discard a card and keep this up, which is pretty cool. Especially if they're getting flooded out at 24 lands, you know? Nice. I think this list has a lot of explosive power. It has more staying power, I think, than Mono Red, despite Light Up the Stage, I think. Because even after Light Up the Stage, like, you can see the value coming out, you know, the turn before it's played. And with this deck, it's like, okay, they're out of gas maybe, and then they play the Watchdog, and you know that they're going to get 2 creatures off of it that you have to deal with, on top of if they already have Embercleave developed. It's just a lot of just like a lot of things that you just have to keep answering. It's also cheap online, which is pretty cool, and like relatively cheap on paper. Like, in regards to paper lists, anything under 200 is pretty cheap, I would say. Like, Cycle is all obviously going to be cheaper, but only if you're not crafting the Sacred Foundries. So sideboard, what do they got? They got Fight as 1, red caps for those mirrors with red. Also just to deal with Questing Beast, being able to punch Questing Beast right in the chin, knock him out. Nice. Even if you have to sack a land for it, it's nice. Same thing with Nightpack Ambushers. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and wasn't cast, exile it instead. Ah, that's interesting. I wonder what that's for. What could that be for? Cats? Oh, I see. It's for cats. Winota? Yeah, Winota too, like countering the mirror. Okay. Oh yeah, command the Dread Horde. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, the problem with that is like the list can just answer your creature and then go through, but I mean, I don't know. This feels weird. Like, Grafdigger seems cheaper to me, but I mean, I guess this is a body too, and this has flash. Ooh, it has flash. That makes it way better. That makes it runnable, almost. Except that cats will just eat this thing alive with whatever they want. Call of the Death Dweller? Yeah, okay. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, in response to call, you can do this. Luris lets you cast it, right? So that doesn't count. But yeah, okay, I can see it. The fact that this says flash makes me interested about it. I think this is the most interesting part of this list, because we all know about Paw Blade, but we didn't know about this, or at least I didn't. Very interesting. 3 disenchants, okay. That's pretty heavy sideboard tech for this. Like, I would have expected like them to pick one or the other. Like, a lot of people run like Embereth Shieldbreaker, especially because, like, you know, you want another body as well. Especially if it's just like Embercleave or something you're going after. And then the 4 glass caskets for aggro. This seems interesting. It's more tech against aggro than it is control. Like, hardly anything for control. It just tries to go down to the ground and just fight as 1 against control, I guess, and try to push through with Embercleave and value. I like it. I think it's got a pretty good chance against the meta, like, just in general. I like it. It's a very spiky deck, is what it is. Simic Ramp. So we've got how many Eugenes? 3. 3 Nissos, 3 Solemns. A lot of people are like saying that this card is sort of like, people remember it being good and now it hasn't aged well, but it seems like a lot of people are using it. Like, you see Nassif using it in U-White Flash. Not U-White Flash, sorry. U-White Blink. Like, 4 Yorians, 4 Simulacrums, 4 Prince Charmings, 4 Elspeths, etc. You get the deal, right? and like elite guard mages and such. He's been running that list for a minute. Nasif has. Also, if you guys have lists that you want me to review next after this, throw your list up in chat, like Aether Hub link or Goldfish link, whatever works for you. I try to do this for viewer decks as well. It can be like jank, it can be whatever you want. And you get a free deck review out of it. So 3 Crassus, 3 Grazers, 3 Cultivates, 4 Spirals. I don't think I've seen yours. Honk, no. 3 Shark Typhoons. Okay. So no counter spells main, which is pretty much the standard nowadays, is just throwing stuff onto the table and hoping you get bigger than the other opponent. Like just more value is what I mean by bigger. So 2 Ketria Triomes. No Bant Triomes. This makes sense. A lot of people are like, why are you running the Triomes, like Jeskai Triomes and you white? And it's like being able to cycle and draw a card if you get flooded, especially in a ramp list, is super nice. Like you have 29 lands. If you get flooded, you want an out, and this is an out. It also fixes you for Spiral mana super early, which is nice. You get 2 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Negates. This is probably like for Flash. Probably like for Night Pack Ambushers, for Nissas, etc. It hits a lot. 3 Love Strucks for aggro, which is pretty cool. No Shatter the Skies, though, for this Bant ramp list. I'm surprised that they're not at least running like Joriel or something. Oh, this is Simic ramp. I'm an idiot. It's Simic ramp. I'm a potato. That's why they're not running like Vetoes and stuff or Teferis and whatnot. Of course. Or Shatters. Duh. Okay. I am a Nimrod. So let me just chill out for a second. So we got 3 Disputes for like Teferis and stuff. These are actually online against Eugene 2 late game. Like when they go to hardcast their first Eugene, you can very easily Mystical Dispute it if you just leave it up. Nothing else presents itself. And it just lets you counter the counters so you can get your own Eugene down too. Kind of nice. We got Scavenging Ooze, which makes a lot of sense. It's Graveyard Hate plus a big thick creature. Something to kind of hit home with. Very nice. And 3 Shifting Ceratops, which makes a bit of sense against like Flash and whatnot and other types of control lists that want to bounce your dude with Teferi. I like it. Pretty spicy. Say that it has enough against aggro with Grazers and Solemns. So this makes sense because, yeah, I guess. Don't really have a lot of the good white cards. Like this would probably be Teferi in another list, potentially. You know, if you're not just turboing stuff out. Cultivates over Migration Path, which I understand a bit. I really like the Migration Path over this because you can cycle it late game when you don't need the ramp, but that's just me. It's also good. This pairs significantly better with like Uro and Spiral, though, to be fair. Yeah, pretty interesting list. I've been thinking about giving Simic Ramp a shot, but most of the lists that I see also run like Cavalier and stuff over the Solemns. This is your list? Okay, nice. We'll check that out soon. All right, so that'll do it for the viewer analysis, or not viewer analysis, but the meta analysis for MTG Goldfish for today. So if you guys are interested, I do this video every single week. There's also a lot more content on YouTube as well, like weekly stuff that I do. If you guys have any questions about like the analysis here specifically, to me in general, you can throw them in the comments below. Usually try to answer those pretty fast. Or you can drop by my stream and we can talk. That also works. Usually stream from 2 p.m. until about 8 p.m. CST right now. So cheers, appreciate you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. If you feel like it, you can subscribe with the button or in the end panel. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks again for stopping by.